Welcome to Go Talk Studios. I'm your host, Lionel Lapidos. And here at Go Talk Studios, we bring you real people, real stories, real Sarawak. Now, today's guest has a doctorate built around something called entrepreneurship. He's worked as a project engineer at Petronas. He has co-founded a creative arts hub of an abandoned building in Kuching. He runs a tech company using AI and drones to manage carbon credits across 5 countries. And under the stage name Macha Kacha Mata, he raps, writes poetry, and does stand-up comedy. Dr. Ashwein is the CFO and co-founder of EBTech, co-founder of Ensera Creatives, and one of the people behind House Kuching. If you're wondering how one person holds all of that together, then that's exactly what we're about to find out. Dr. Ashwein, welcome to Go Talk Studios.
Hello, very nice to meet you, Lionel. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedule.
Nah, man, definitely.
You know, I think off the bat, one thing I was wondering is this guy does so much. Like, does he have any siblings? Because if he does, there's a lot of pressure there. Because I know it would have been like, why can I be like Ashwein? So,
I mean, I've got 2 siblings. They're both doctors. Kind of the reason why I got pushed to get a doctorate as well. They're medical doctors. And until like my early 30s, my dad used to introduce his kids as like, I've got 2 doctors and 1 graduate, So
Lord.
exactly. I had an MBA, man, at that time. And I was like, you know what? COVID's here. I ain't got stuff to do. I'm going to take up my doctorate. And I wanted it to focus on something that I truly, truly believed in and truly loved, which was creative and economy. So I was on creative economy with a very huge focus on artpreneurship because I was really a serial entrepreneur by then and I love the arts. So that's how I got
And
my
that's what
doctorate.
pushed you.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
Family pressure much. I mean, welcome to Asia.
So maybe, okay, let's go back a bit.
Yeah.
All right. So what was your childhood like? Where did you grow up?
Okay, so I grew up mostly in Stampin. I'm Sarawakian, by the way, in case you guys are wondering, right? I'm orang Batu Kawah though. Kawah represent. Okay. So I grew up in Stampin, but then like I moved later on to Batu Kawah where we had my family business was basically running a skills training center and from vocational stuff and all of that. So from every vocational program that was being run, they would need to do some level of like training or some level of like industrial experience. So these kids are basically 80% practical, 20% theory. So during their practical sessions, they would need to work in certain companies. But during those years, there were not a lot of developed industries or companies actually for a lot of these students to go to. So what we used to do was like we used to actually open up companies related to these training fields. So that was my first exposure towards like serial entrepreneurship because usually you have your Indian uncle who owns like 1 restaurant and maximum maybe own like a few houses to like rent out. They didn't have Airbnb that time, so they used to rent out to students and all of that. So that's the most you'll be exposed to serial entrepreneurship. But here it's like you kind of have to see it from a holistic point of view where each and every industry has its own tips and tricks, but my dad kind of found a way to like work around it by finding the common denominator, which is skills, and running a skills training center kind of helps with that kind of thinking. So through that, he was doing tourist guide programs, so we opened a tour and travel company. He was doing a tailoring program, so they opened a boutique. So they were doing electrical and aircon repair, so he opened like a small renovation kind of like a bespoke studio, something like that. So I grew up seeing that, right? And I, although was pretty exposed to that at a young age, I still loved filmmaking from a very young age. So in my younger days, after my A levels, I decided to apply for like a scholarship to go to film school, but was denied. Indians, we believe in the Delta 5, doctor, engineer, lawyer, teacher, accountant.
Okay, yeah.
It's going to be one of
African
this.
families.
It's going to be one of this. So both my siblings were doctors. So I went for the next thing, which was engineering. And then I decided that like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do engineering. So I studied in Nottingham for a couple of years and then came back to Kuching to work in Brook Dockyard. After I was in Brook Dockyard, then I moved to Naim. Moved from Naim over to Technip, then Petronas, yada yada yada. Then after that, I came back to Kuching to continue running the family business before starting to open a lot of my enterprises as well. But back to being in childhood and all, I was growing up in a very Chinese community, right? So because I went Chinese school and all of that, so like it kind of gave me, I feel personally, a bit of a leg up because like the Chinese are pretty resilient people,
Correct.
and you kind of pick some tricks and traits in how they usually support their own people and how they support their community and stuff like that, right? So the communities that I was looking to support were not really race based. They were more of like shared struggle based because that's how communities tend to like stick together. So I've always had that need to do community building like from a young age to find people that had like, shared struggles, shared issues, shared problems. And if one of us is able to get out of like those issues, that's how I wanted to go down that path as well. So yeah, these are the few things that helped like kind of develop my childhood a little bit.
So then, okay, so you become an engineer, you're working at Petronas, and you're working outside of Kuching, right? At this
Yes,
point.
correct. Yeah.
So then what made you decide, what pulled you back home?
Okay, so right. So I was in Petronas for a number of years. There were a couple of things that made me feel that I kind of needed to come home instead of like I wanted, or it was a choice to come home. It was more of like I needed to come home. One of it being that, okay, so my dad was not really well at that time. So he decided to say like, I think you should come back and like, I mean, he wasn't like very unhealthy, but he was getting old. And he's like, okay, I need a successor for like my businesses that I've built over here. I've kind of built like a little empire and I want him to come back and stuff like that. That was one reason. Another reason was also because it was during the VSS where they're asking you to like voluntarily be terminated, right? Or they will terminate you because they were having a oil crisis at that time. 2015, 2016 was when shale oil came into production. So people didn't really need to go offshore anymore. It was a lot of onshore oil going on. I was affecting the oil prices. So Petronas was doing a lot of cutting down of their staffing. Unfortunately, I didn't fall in the cutting down of staffing. Or not, I would have gotten a pretty decent severance check.
Oh.
What happened was like everyone else in my department got cut. I was kept. I had to do 3 times the work of what I used to for 1/3 of the salary. Because like, times are not good and stuff like that. And it didn't feel good working for the devil, so to be very honest.
The devil. Uh-huh.
I mean, I was doing a project for MLNG. I was handling, okay, at that point of time, I was handling 3 different projects. There's one in, the time I was a contracts manager already. I was handling a project for Maharajalela South in Brunei. I was handling the Rapid Pengerang in Johor, which was the biggest. And one more was in MLNG Bintulu in Tray 9, right? The Bintulu projects was the one that irked me the most because I always pushed for Sarawakian contractors to be hired because it's happening in Bintulu. But they were not very susceptible to that. Because of our deals that we were having with the Rapid project, they were pushing us. I mean, my department head at that time was pushing me to put in more Johorian and West Malaysian contractors there. So I had a huge problem with that, and I couldn't really get along with it. I couldn't get along with the program. And this was the time I realized that, you know what, I don't think I'm cut out to be a wage earner because like I have the kind of impact that I want to do, the kind of things that I want to like really achieve and support. I was talking about community building, right? So when you're dealing with contractors, when I see Sarawakian contractors, I understand their struggle because now I'm on the client side and I'm like here to assist and help. I think about like my family, like my dad, he's kind of one of those kind of contractors as well. So this is the chance to give back to our people. But that was not the case that was happening over there. And also it was kind of an opportune moment because, okay, I wouldn't say opportune moment. It's kind of a bad time also because it's when Tok Nan just passed away. And everyone was like, oh, it was a very big shift from what used to be to the new era. And then suddenly he passed away. Which is kind of sad, So we were like, I think it's time to go back and contribute back to the state. So these were like the main factors that brought me back. And you'd be pretty surprised, I know 2016 is a very interesting year because all my business partners who, like we were discussing earlier, Kuching people at KL Energy, we basically left KL to come back to Kuching for a short while. The few of us who basically like lined up together and started doing things together are the ones that are lasting till today. Yeah.
And I guess this is where then house comes in.
Correct. So like I met like my partners in house, through a few different events and stuff like that. And then we just had this very same wavelength of thinking about like how are we to elevate the creative scene. And because at that point of time I was really running a few of the businesses for my parents, I kind of felt that like I was being a wage earner again, to be very honest. Like it didn't I don't blame my parents for that. I think like the generational shift from like bringing your kids back to run the family business, it's not the same. There's no like one solution for all. There's no magic solution for it. So I needed to find like my self actualization in the businesses that they run. I couldn't really find it at first. Okay. It just felt that like I was just pressured into doing it because we work very hard, and this money was what got you through school, got you through your job, got you through everything, and now you don't want to respect it back and take care of it. It was more of that kind of pressure, and that's when I realized that like no, I need to do some things on the side that makes me feel that I'm giving the impact to the community that I really love, which is the creative community at the end of the day, right? And yeah, basically that's how I kind of transitioned to come back. I decided that like I'm actually very thankful I didn't go to film school, man. I'm gonna be very honest with you.
Really?
If I was, no offense to the DOPs and like the directors out there, if I just went to film school, bro, I would just be like hired as like a freelancer, and I'll be like begging another production company, hey, can I do this? Can I do that? And stuff like that. Uh, Maybe that's just the way I see it, because the way that I ran my businesses and I went into filming, I went into like, the different sectors, I went into tech and all of that. Understanding process flow diagrams helped me to look at my business supply chain in a different kind of look. So it helped me to see a bigger picture. I don't have too much creative ego attached to the work that I'm doing and all. I mean, I do have some ego, but like it doesn't delineate me from my potential sustainability and profit making as well, because we need that. We need
Correct.
profit making to be
Of course,
sustainable.
to be sustainable.
Even if we are social enterprises as well, the enterprising component, you need to think about profitability as well. Yeah.
Was this the idea though? Like when you started House, right? Because at this point, right, you're talking about fulfillment, right? You
Mhm,
wanted to
mhm.
make some sort of impact, right? How how do you actualize this with in your conversation? Like to say, oh, we're gonna have this thing called House, and this is what it's gonna do. What was
I
that
mean,
conversation?
yeah, it was it was quite interesting, because like I think the like I said, the common denominator that we also had at that time were like Kuching people at KL Energy. So a bit of explanation on the KL Energy part means that like these people have either been studying in KL for a bit or been working in KL for a bit, and they were immediately drawn to like art spaces and art buildings like Zongshan, like Rex
Right.
KL, like APW, Bangsa, and all of that. So when we saw these buildings and what they could do, we were like, oh my God, Kuching has so many buildings. Kuching has so many white elephant buildings. They're just like abandoned and nothing going on over there. Their stories inspired us so much to like kind of feel like if we come back to our grounds and we find the right kind of synergy, we are basically able to like scale this thing, and we have so much more culture to show. Like there's the cultural traditional culture part, and then the urbanization and like the fusion of a lot of this along with urban tech and stuff like that would really put us on the map. And it kind of did, because if you see our creative scene from 2016 to where it is now, I mean, I don't take full credit for it, but there is some level of uplifting of the creative scene that's being done. Like everyone knows about House Coaching. Ensera is able to even go overseas with the work that we do and stuff like that. We did not need to discuss too long about like how we wanted to do it. It was more of like, how soon can we do it? How do we get the funds to do this? How do I get the technical expertise to make sure that the creatives can kind of focus on doing the creative work, while we worry about the other parts of like providing the base, providing like the foundation. And I was very like psyched and very like inspired and excited to get them to basically register their companies, set up Sunjan Berhats, think about being an entrepreneur. If you're not able to do it on your own, find someone who's a bit more finance savvy, partner with them. Don't be shy. Don't be gatekeeping whatever you're doing. It's either you learn the skill set or you buy someone's time on board. And you can buy it using many currencies besides just money. You can provide equity in your company, and they give in their sweat equity, and then later on when you make dividends, you guys can work it out. You know? Yeah, there's many ways. There's many ways you can, slice the cake to make this work. Yeah.
So then now, okay, House is, you guys have agreed, okay, we're gonna start this thing. in my research, right, I see that then you're also rapping, you're writing poetry. Was this the idea? Like, whilst you're doing this, you would also be doing.
No, I did not
Was
have
this
that.
the avenue?
No, that was not the reason I set up house. Okay, guys, I didn't set up house to become a rapper. That just happened.
Mm.
Mainly, okay. House was my launch pad to basically open a lot of other companies like Ensera, like EBTech, and work in partnership with like all the other creative endeavors that I was looking to do. Because now I can see that like if I've got the technical and the logistics part sorted, this is what it takes to do a creative venture or a creative endeavor, right? And House basically gave me the platform for that. And in the process of that, also I started to realize that like, hey, um, managing finance with a touch of creativity, with a touch of arts in it, there's quite a bit of finesse that's required as well. And I'm starting to realize that like I'm kind of gravitating to that a little bit. So I'll be one of those CFOs that has like braids, you know, that will go into a hall and people are like, is this guy for real? Can I trust him with with my money and not, you know, and stuff like that? And I'll prove them otherwise when I start talking and stuff like that. So how I got how I got into rap, bro. That's just during the pandemic. I was kind of bored. Like, you know, we couldn't do much, and I was kind of going out of my mind, figuring out how do I stay sane and stuff like that. So I used to do a lot of poetry before. I published a book on poetry as well when I was 19, and I love hip hop. I love rap music, right? So I figured that like and I also do a bit of stand up comedy on the side as well. So I couldn't do any of this during the pandemic. Like you know, I couldn't recite my poetry. I could write poems, but I couldn't recite it. You know, I can listen to hip hop music a lot till I'm like, you know what, I think I can do better, or I think can do something similar to that. And then also like I can't really do much with like my stand up comedy stuff. There's nowhere to basically perform live and stuff. And you can't do stand up comedy on like Facebook Live.
Nah,
That
that-
doesn't work. That doesn't
why?
work, right? And why would I want to do that, you know? So I just decided that like, hey, all my punchlines, I make it rhyme a little bit. And then I learned how to use like Pen Garage, you know, and stuff. And basically also figure out how to work with sound engineers. So I worked together with our records, AOK Records, and like I had like the beats. So I used to make the beats, and then I had the rhymes, and I just get him to like mix and master it for me. Yeah, so that's how I found out that like, there's actually a process behind it. It's like an engineering process as well. So that's what got me like very intrigued and excited. So I take care of the creative element. I sort it out at some point someday. And then finally I'll have like about 3 or 4 songs ready to go. And I'll approach him and say like, hey, can we cut a deal? You know, I want to release an EP. How much do you charge per song? Okay, can I get a bit of a discount since I'm doing it in a group? Then he said, okay, the discount only works if like you come in set hours to get it recorded and stuff like that, because how they price it is also based on like their resource they're using, electricity, the staff salaries, you know, the equipment and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, okay, sure. I'll work within like your budget constraints. I mean, they'll work within my budget constraints. I work within their resource constraints, kind of thing, right? And that's how I kind of got into it as well. So yeah, to basically answer your question, I didn't set up house to become a rapper. That just happened to be kind of thing. So yeah.
Oh. On the rap part, like
Yeah.
this is my curiosity. Was hip hop something you were listening to growing up?
Of course, man.
Favorite
Of
rapper?
course. Tupac.
Talking,
Tupac,
here we
man. Yeah,
go,
he's poetic. The Rose That Grow from Concrete was the first poetry book that I ever had in my hands. Yeah, so
now
that's what
you're a
really got
proper
me.
hip-hop head.
Yeah. So that kind of like, you know, accidentally tells people my age as well, because like
When
the young kids are not going to like
Tupac
that.
is timeless.
Timeless,
Yeah.
exactly. It's timeless, right? So yeah, I mean, of course, we have the usual favorites like Eminem. I was very into NWA as well, and Fat Joe. You know,
Okay,
so these were like my very initial these were my very initial inspirations. In essence, basically, like I liked their flow that they go with. It's not exactly about the speed. It's also about like how we go about the breathing and stuff like that. And the play on languages, that's what I like the most as well.
There we go,
So that's why
yes.
I love to do multilingual rap. Being a person, I'm slightly a polyglot as well, because I love to speak many languages. At the moment, I speak a minimum fluently of 8 languages. but a total of 12 languages. Yeah, so I love many languages. Only issue that I've thought and I faced is that like to go into mainstream music and mainstream media, having more than 3 languages in one song is a bad idea because like it's algorithm wise it's a little bit hard to capture to put into which stream view of the mainstream that you want to join. If it's like in the underground music, I need to have like okay, say I have like a couple of songs that appeared on like Era, which is Malay songs with a bit of English rap, just a little bit. And then the English songs that has like Malay and Mandarin in it kind of struggled a bit in hits. So the ones that's just English with a few Tamil words here and there, okay, that's fine. People can kind of get it. So it played quite well on hits and all of that. But like, I don't know, man, I just sort of like, not to say surviving lah, but just managing with the little royalties I'm getting from some of these songs. Some of these songs also made it into like theme songs for some of local shows and stuff like that. So I let the royalty come in. It's not really been inspiring me to do much music at the moment. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe soon,
It might come out in one of your movies.
Probably, hopefully. Yeah. Actually, in Aram Kaban, one of my songs is in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing a pattern here.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I to be very honest, I think I got kind of inspired with the whole vertical integration thing that Pablo Escobar did. You know, you be part of like the distribution, you be part of like the
That's what I'm
the
saying
supply and
here,
stuff like that. So yeah, I was kind of working in that direction as well. But yeah, sometimes if I'm too obvious about it, I'm gonna have the cops come down.
Oh
Me,
yeah,
nah, I'm
of
just kidding.
course. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like this is exactly what it takes though to be an entrepreneur. Like
Yeah.
then you're able to find opportunities, and sometimes things just align.
Correct.
Right. And maybe for people listening and they're hearing entrepreneurship, maybe
Mhm.
you could explain to us what that is, and maybe what was the core argument of your thesis.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so entrepreneurship. Yeah, I'm gonna put my leg up here now. Yeah.
For
So,
sure.
so entrepreneurship is just like a fancy way to call creative entrepreneurs. Because creative entrepreneur is such a long term, so I just decided to call it entrepreneur, right? I just didn't get the trademark it though, but it's fine. It's okay. But in essence, like what my thesis was actually focusing on, besides like issues faced by entrepreneurship in the art scene or in the art sector, was actually to find solutions on how to solve the value proposition part that is being a huge challenge in the creative sector. See, the creative sector is only a 2% GDP contributor to Sarawak's economy. Why? Because, we've got renewable resources, we've got timber, we've got fossil fuels, and, all the big industries. But you'll be surprised to understand that, like, the growth of a lot of these industries, besides like, the raw materials, is that it very much leverages on advertising, it very much leverages on like image, on how it gets the information out. All the big companies need to use videos and need to use like, storytelling in their campaign in order to get the buy-in. Doesn't matter if it's the buy-in of a B2C, business to customer, or even B2B or even B2G. You need to use some part of the creative sector to get that buy-in. But why are we not at that big percentage yet? That was like my big question, basically. The idea behind it was that from my research, what I could find was that artistic innovation and value proposition was the two factors that was not reaching the point. Okay, so with value proposition is like the end goal, because once you have created like a very good value, you do not need to market it, or you do not need to put it out there so much. People will approach you with the need to say that like, hey, I mean, we face it a little bit right now when it comes to Gawai or Kamatan. That's when suddenly all the film producers and all the production companies are like hunting down each and every video production company that's in Sabah and Sarawak and all of that. What is the value proposed over there? Because we know best about our Harvest Festival. But we got to go beyond that, because then we're just typecasting to one time of the year or 1 month of the year, and then the rest of the year we are struggling to even make ends meet. That's not the way it's supposed to work. So we need to create such a strong value proposition to say that, hey, we have more stories to tell besides Gawai, besides the Belikan, the Sape, the Longhouse, and all of that. There's so much more we can bring in here. And how do we actually achieve this? Is actually by creating artistic innovation, because artists can no longer be only empowered by money or empowered by exposure. Okay, they need to be also empowered in the sense that like they are excited or they feel that they need to make a certain level of impact. And what's a biggest struggle that is faced in Sarawak for them to reach that kind of impact is actually infrastructure development. So we're talking about art infrastructure. Okay, we're talking about art spaces. We're talking about training and guidance towards the arts field. Where if you're going to a film school or you're going to an art school, they teach you all the technical things. They don't teach you how to run an enterprise. They don't teach you how to do invoicing. They don't teach you how to price your line item of the thing that you want to do.
Correct.
So this is a few things that I actually noticed. And the one way that we can basically sort of like solve all of this is understanding entrepreneurship. That's one. But another thing that I was actually also proposing to like, in my paper, in a way, to the, council or to the governments and stuff like that, is to basically talk to like these building owners who have huge buildings in town, which are basically eyesores. So we're talking like, okay, I'm going to be very honest here, right? It's what real people, real talk and all of that.
It
right?
is.
Okay, so we've got Miramar Plaza, we've got like the UOB building, we've got the Medan Pelita building. Bro, this will make amazing art spaces. But if you approach them to use the space, the owner of the building would charge you something exorbitant. Like I approached the UOB building's owner and they were just telling me that like, oh, 40 mil or we don't talk. 40 million.
40.
And I'm like, that building has been dead for the last 15 years. Okay. It's a den for druggies, right? Right. And it is bad shape. I don't know if we can get a Sesco meter running for it properly or not. I don't know if the piping and the plumbing is even working. But every year without fail, you'll hire an Indonesian to come there and paint it white.
Paint the walls, yeah.
Paint the outside walls white. You just want to continue leaving the building to run like that. So I had this pretty crazy idea that I put in my thesis, which my supervisor wasn't very happy about, but I don't care. I'll just put it in anyway. Which was to use the government pressure through the council to basically revoke the ownership of these buildings if they don't do something about it because it's being an eyesore and it's taking up a certain kind of thing. Because like in Japan and like in a few other countries, a building reaches heritage status after a certain time, after a certain point. And there is a certain level of upkeep that must go into the heritage building if the person owns the heritage building. And if it doesn't, it gets taken back by the state or by the government. Okay, we don't need to take such drastic measures to revoke, but maybe just put a little bit of pressure to say like, guys, you have not done anything to this building. Can we allow these enterprises, these art enterprises, creative enterprises to come in and do something? Yeah, give us an opportunity. We'll even pay rent, not a problem. It doesn't have to be a lease to buy model. After a certain years, we see how it goes about it and all. And this is what I was trying to propose as well. But, land ownership, building ownership are very sensitive matters. So hence why I think it's going to take a little bit longer and probably maybe a few more people or hopefully within the same generation to make this shift. But I'm pretty optimistic and positive that like, if I talk loud enough and I talk, often enough and fast enough,
you'll drive so. But then the psychology of it makes no sense. Why would they refuse? Like if they know, okay, there's no money coming in.
They want the money. They want the money. So you see, the issue that a lot of like proposals that goes towards like the government and towards the towards the art sector is always towards that we need more money to do things.
Correct.
Okay. I'm proposing, forget about the money part. We have policies. Policies doesn't cost money for you to change. I mean, it takes time and time takes money, blah, blah, blah. But it's not like you have to throw money to a problem kind of thing. It's more of like, do you guys align and see what's the end goal with this? Because if this happens, it stirs its own economy. And when it stirs its own economy, you will be driven towards this value proposition. And before you know it, you'll be pumping in money there anyway. We just need like someone to start the domino blocks to like, fall on each other. And like, from the building owner's perspective, you pay me the money, then okay lah. Then we talk. If you don't pay me the money, sorry, I'm the owner. This is what is also sometimes faced by, people are always making noise about how government is not developing certain parts, certain lands, they're not building their bomba and all of that, right? So recently, minister, which I'm not going to name, basically mentioned that he was very close to basically setting up like a facility, for the people over there. They basically had like all the drawings, everything in order. As he approached the landowner gave such an exorbitant price that it just didn't make sense for them to proceed. So that's the side that people don't usually see. People
Yeah.
always think that like this YB is not doing enough, he could have been doing more, blah blah blah. But these are like real life problems of certain people who unfortunately are greedy. When they own the resource and they have the access to it, they are pulling the most capitalist stunts that they can. And people call me the capitalist sometimes. You know what I mean? Yeah, whatever. But,
Well, I don't think you can argue against it.
yeah.
Right.
So that's in essence what like my thesis was about.
I see. Then talk. All right. Then how did that come about, and what was the idea behind it?
Okay, so Talk started as like an intern project actually. An intern project. So we had like 6 interns at one point in Ensera Creatives. My partner Sydney and I were like, there, bro, we got to give these guys some work to do, you know? Like, we can't just be asking them to like make coffee for us and print papers or become like our, production assistants when we have like some productions going on. We had like a bit of a gap of no work going on at that time. So we always had this idea of like following how Drunk History did it. Have you heard of Drunk History?
No.
There's 2 people, they get drunk and they talk about history.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic concept.
it's such an amazing concept, right? It's edgy. Halfway through, when the guy starts slurring, he's talking facts, but like you don't know whether you can accept what he's saying or not. He'll like mix the historical facts with some of his opinions and stuff like that and all.
Engaging.
So yeah, it's pretty engaging. So that was basically the idea we had when we wanted to start To Art Talk. And we just wanted to talk about serious things. Initially, it was on music, it was on politics, it was on, sexual education and stuff like that. Culture, heritage, whatever, while we're drunk. Okay, but we can't just like blatantly get drunk on camera. It needed like a bit of a format to it and all of it, right? So if you notice, like, how come while we'll be talking halfway and then we'll be like, oh, stop, okay, and then we'll take
There's
a
the
sip.
timer.
Yeah, so because there's someone in the behind the scenes who's actually ringing the bell. So we give that person, you are the bell ringer for the day. All right. There is no fixed timing on when you want to ring the bell. You just make sure you ring the bell and we'll have to drink.
Oh.
So we leave it to you. The problem with it is sometimes if like the conversation is too engaging and this person is engaged, he forgets to ring the bell. And when I'm feeling like, man, I'm getting sober.
Well, you can't just drink?
Yeah. I mean, we can. So what I'll usually do is like, hey, can you ring the bell? Because we've got 3 cameras, right? So the camera that's pointing at me, I know that like we can cut away from that. Then I just like look at the guys.
Like
Ring the bell, we need to drink, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically how it started. We were because it's totally self-funded. We were working with such limited resources, but it so happened we were at House at that time. So House has a lot of like edgy corners with a bunch of like graffiti, a bunch of like art pieces and stuff like that. So we'll just like put 3 chairs and we had like, those oil barrels that someone donated to us, random stuff. At one point, House was kind of like a dumping ground for random stuff from homes where they used to just come and leave their sofas and say, yeah, we'll fix it up and we'll use it. So we'll have like, if you're renting out chairs, all of it will be different, different design, different color, different type, So yeah, we were just using spaces like that. And then I think sometime last year to this year, we started getting a little bit more viral, a little bit more famous, especially after Professor Jayum's episode where he was talking about like Professor Jayum is this guy who is a political analyst with a huge focus on Dayak politics, right? So he kind of deep dived into like what are the issues faced, the fractionalized Dayak politicians and political parties and how they're being affiliated. And he himself is pretty controversial and virally known for openly, condemning how the current Dayak politicians are conducting themselves. So a lot of them were like, shooting back and blah, 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 blah. So he interestingly was interested to be in our episode and we thought it'll be pretty good. So that kind of like boosted our popularity a little bit. After that, it was with YB Dato Larry. That, as you know, also has its virality part to it as well.
Of course.
I don't want to comment too much about that, but I think he also helped us quite a bit as well in terms of like, the sensationalization of like Tuat Talk. And then there was YB Kelvin, and then recently with Dr. Brian Anthony. And yeah, somehow like it got very interesting of to how we suddenly realized that, oh, we've got a bit of a value proposition that we're playing with here. Because I did not have that in mind. It was something fun we did on the side to kind of stay relevant, but also like to kind of tease our brains a little bit, like, hey, we're quite interested to talk about this topic, and we don't want it to like, affect our corporate look and our corporate side of how we did things. Because if we stood very strongly about one item and one thing, it may affect who wants to hire us or who wants to work with us and stuff like that. But the idea we had was like, let the people talk. We are just a platform provider. Yeah, so that's why we get like, accused of being like, oh, only supporting the opposition and stuff like that. I mean, bro, we've been asking all the GPS guys to also come on our show as well. It's just that no one has replied. No one, I mean, there are some who have replied and then decided they didn't want to come, but like we haven't got any one of them on board as well, because we are merely a platform, and our political alignment and standing is not reflected in how we conduct ourselves when we run these programs.
Have you speculated as to why maybe they don't want to come on the show?
I mean, I have my reasons, but like to keep it politically friendly, right? I would think that like maybe because okay, each episode has like an angle on how we go about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a profile piece. Sometimes it's like we were going to invite like the first Daya MP in GPS, who is a woman, to basically come on board as well. So we want to take it from that angle. What do you want to tell like the future ladies who want to come into politics and stuff? Is it a very male-dominated stuff and all of that? Maybe some of these topics don't fully resonate with what they want to share. Or maybe they've also gotten like some sort of directive on like how do they want to go about conducting themselves on a talk show. Or also maybe they just don't see the need of that popularity. They don't see the need for that kind of fame, because maybe they've got good fame on their own and stuff like that.
Maybe they don't see the value proposition.
Correct. So naturally, a lot of like the opposition MPs do see a clear value proposition that would help them get their word out and stuff like that. Because let's face it, it's as much as we want to beat around the bush to say that we live in a democracy and all of that. Very honestly speaking, there is a very huge resource imbalance when it comes to government and opposition. So like in the cases of DAP and all, it's a bit lucky because they still get federal funding.
Correct.
Or not, there'll be the likes of PBDS and the rest of them, right? In a lot of cases, they do not want to rock the boat too much, because as it is, they do not get funding. They need to basically, stay relevant and stuff like that. So coming and being exposed on like a talk show, it's free of charge. It doesn't cost them. It only costs them time to basically come, to be there. And at the same time, like, we get to talk with some like-minded people, not politically, but like,
there we go.
Yeah, technically, our thoughts on philosophy and stuff like that could align over a couple of drinks of tua. And that's basically what it is at the end of the day. We are a platform provider for things like this. It so happens that we can start to be edgy. We're starting to get supporters, people who are willing to donate and stuff like that. We had political parties who wanted to donate, and we were like, no, sorry, we're not going to take up money for that. We are a little bit picky of what kind of money. Yeah, it's a bit risky and stuff like that. But yeah, in essence, that was what went through our mind when we, started to talk.
So then now when you look at it, because I think the political content is what's kind of made it blow up. So is it a political show, or is it cultural, or?
I mean,
it certainly looked like it started off cultural. I remember watching.
We would prefer it to be a Sarawakian show. We don't want to put like a label on it to say that like it's cultural, political, or what. In fact, like we are probably going to pad it with a little bit more feel good and chill episodes where I'm going to bring in some other besides me and Sydney, we're going to bring in some other podcasters also to review the comments that we've been getting and laugh about it, and talk about
Okay.
it and stuff like that, right? So that's just to lighten up the mood a little bit before we get more serious. But I think it's relevant also to talk a lot about politics as we are nearing a potential election soon.
Correct.
And I'm very sick and tired of the youth saying they don't want to know anything about politics. I mean,
Mm.
even though I'm not a very political person or I don't rave about politics all the time, you cannot deny that this has very, very clear, impact and repercussions on how the state is going to be conducted.
Correct.
How we're going to be running, how we're going to be, existing in this place, right? So to say that like, oh, I'm not so keen on that. I'm not really into politics and stuff. I don't really want to take notice or know anything happens. Also, we know one party is going to win anyway. That's besides the point. That is absolutely besides the point, because if you don't take any effort to know now, we are going to get into the whole super majority problem that was faced in Malaysia before. And we have a Lanka Sheraton happening. It just changes the dynamic of the whole thing. And with the pandemic happening, that just messed up our country big time. During the pandemic was the worst for Malaysia, for where it's ever been, and to basically rise back from the ashes. And I mean, right now also, we don't know whether it's doing so well or not on the federal side, to be very honest. It needed a lot of youth push, like how we started Undi 18. I mean, not we, but like how the youth basically started like Undi 18 and all of that to move the voting age from 21 to 18. It seemed like the most basic thing to do, but it got so much opposition. There were so many people that needed to rally for it and all of it, right? And when it finally happened, I was one of the few that was so happy because I've so far voted like 3 times. I voted 3 times. And I have friends who are my age who have not voted before. And I'm like, bro, really? Seriously? Things like that.
And then how? Okay, maybe I think that's one of the things we were exploring with some of our political guests, like that apathy in the youth. How do you get them interested in it? Because I mean, a lot of the conversation has been shortening of attention spans, right? People aren't right. They're not going to read manifestos,
Correct.
Right? As much as we may want them to. So then maybe it's now on us, like the media companies, on the politicians themselves, to find ways for the youth to actually get interested in it. Right.
Exactly. I mean, the way I look at it is that like podcasts and talks being made into sound bites and little video bites is the easiest way to reach to the youth. So having like our TikTok shorts, having our Insta reels and stuff like that, made into like small info bites and all of this. It's hard to get like a slightly elderly politician to be able to concisely get to their point to say things.
Impossible, actually.
Almost impossible, right? But in a podcast like this, you get to edit, you get to actually put the words out. And in some like higher end podcasts, they actually do spend a little bit to also do graphic animations to kind of summarize and show what they're trying to say and stuff like that, So this, I feel, is like a very easy way to like reach out to the younger generation to make them actually interested, And it doesn't have to be from activism. It doesn't have to be from them joining political parties. Them just being aware and understanding that like what's happening in the world right now has very much got to do with politics, whether it's local politics, federal politics, foreign politics, or world politics.
Correct.
It starts somewhere, That's my thoughts about it. Yeah.
Then Ensera Creatives. So Talk is under Ensera Creatives,
Yes,
right?
right.
What else is there, and why? Why did you start Ensera Creatives?
Okay, so remember I told you I wanted to go to filming school when I was young, and I didn't get the chance to do it, and I went to engineering school. I came out, I started house and all of that. So it's very interesting how I bumped into Sydney. Sydney Atin is my partner, and Sydney was a music school teacher who used to drive down every week from Sarawak to Kuching before the Panbonia was up. Yeah, so you're talking like five hours plus on like bumpy roads and stuff. Just to do wedding videos and music videos.
Wow.
Because he had that much passion into videography and filmmaking, but like he still needed to keep like a day job. I mean, his parents were both teachers, and he comes like he has siblings who are teachers as well. And he came from that whole mindset of like, government job stable and all. So he kind of, I feel this is my personal opinion. I don't know if he agrees with me on this, but I feel that like we both had this moment of like, you know what, I can't be a wage earner anymore. You know what, I I think I can do it better. And I've been like stumbled by this, by this block of like, no, I have to just follow orders. It's like that because it's like that. I don't know if because we're on the spectrum or what, maybe but like we just realized that like, damn, we can't work in this kind of environments. Doesn't work for us. So he was finding no joy in like the teaching work that he was doing. And it so happened that like because he does magic as well, so I did a stand-up comedy event and I invited him to do comedy magic, so like some mentalist stuff, and guess your underwear color with some laughter and stuff like that,
Alright.
something funky like that. And then also I got him to do one of my music videos. Right, we were launching like this event called Barola, where it's something like Wild and Out, but like the Sarawakian version kind of thing. So I got him to do the video for it. So during that time, he kept like asking me that like, how do you run your business? How do you start a business? How like how do you survive during days where there's no money, when there's no clients and stuff like that? I'm like, bro, you got to weather it, man. And that's why like you don't start a business until you have some very confirmed things in place. Because after opening a couple of companies, like understanding calculated risk, you have to take risk. You must kind of have, forgive me for saying these balls of steel to go into business, right? And having balls of steel doesn't mean you have to be stupidly confident. You can take risks, but you can calculate these risks this way. There's so many metrics that you can go with to calculate the risk, but also you cannot overanalyze it. Then you'll end up not opening one at all.
Correct.
All right. So I told him to go back and think about what the risk factors you're going to consider if you're going to go into this. Then he said, I'll still do it part-time, I'll freelance. It's a hobby or something like that. So I told him like, yeah, okay, when you're ready to take this to the next level, we'll talk again. And in 2021, he approached me and he said like, you know what, I'm done with this whole teaching thing. This was during COVID time and he was struggling being a teacher. He hated the whole traveling, the commute and whatever. And he's like, you know what, I think I'm ready to take the leap of faith. I think I'm done with this. So what does it take to open a company? So I was like, yeah, sure. So this, you need to do this. Make sure you're financially stable in this part and all that. He's like, you know what? Instead of like learning from you bit by bit, why don't you just come in as a partner? Oh, my mind was just like, bro, is this some sort of like divine intervention kind of thing? Because I've been manifesting wanting to like film my own movie, to start going to the filming industry, to become a, like a film director and stuff like that, a film producer, right? And now I actually have the opportunity to set up a video production company. So I was like, where do I sign? Like, shut up and take my money kind of thing,
I'm all in.
So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll come in to be the finance guy behind this. You worry about the creative alignment. I'll worry about like how we want to scale and how we keep sustainable, right? And this actually happened in house. So that's why I feel like house was our common denominator to kind of put me on the map for a lot of things as well. And so that's when I like spoke to Sydney and said that like, okay, look, first things first, we need to go get our finance license. So we were the first few in the early stages of like 2021 of like new film companies that got our finance license quick. Because after that, finance then had like the ruling that like, oh, you need to have like 100K paid up capital, you have to have this, then you can get a finance license. So we got our finance license early because I say like, we must have. Because at first he was like, oh no, we don't need to work about that so much. How about we use this company as a vehicle to do like wedding videos, music videos? No one really needs it then. But now, actually, at this day and age, if we were to do, say, music videos or any like public videos and stuff like that, you actually need to get a license or like an approval from finance, whether you have a license or not. But usually licensed companies will get the approval very fast, like 1-2 days process, right? And I don't know, it was just like my forward thinking back then to say that like, no, we cannot think about going B2C. Let's do B2B. Let's do B2G. Okay, we need to approach corporates. We need to do corporate videos. We need to do videos for government agencies. Simple stuff like even the event highlight. Doing like the event highlight is great. You start with event highlight, then they're like, can you do photography? Yes, we can do. Can you do MCP? Yes, we can do. No problem. Say yes first, then we figure out later. Sure, we can. I'm sure we can figure it out. And then after they're like, okay, can you handle social media? Yeah, sure. Get the social media manager in, right? That's how we started from like, building small wedding videos and music videos to like now running full media campaigns for, companies. Yeah.
How were you getting these contracts, Says?
I mean, through friends, through family, through putting our voice out there. I mean, Sydney's a pretty funny guy as well. So his stuff on his content on his social media also gets people very intrigued and interested. And also, I have to admit that Sydney's vision for the creative work always leaves the client wanting more. So we get a lot of repeat clients. A lot of like our big contracts comes from repeat clients actually.
I see.
Yeah.
But then, say with the government and all, how would you then find? Okay,
Oh, I mean, these guys will like come hang out in house, we'll party and stuff like that. And then they're like, oh, actually, I work in like this agency. Do you guys have like a company profile? Do you guys have like your SSM? I was like, where's your headphone? Give me your number. I'll send it to you right now.
immediately.
Because I have it with me, Because usually if you go to an artist and you ask them like, okay, write in a proposal, I want your SSM, can you give me your company letterhead and all that? And then we're like,
I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. I'll like, oh, here's my name card. I was like, but we're different, like we I already have it on standby. So we have a Google Drive with all of these documents in. You want us to do like a vendor registration? No problem. We thrive in that. Like other people will be like, oh, how do we go about this? Because in a lot of cases, if you don't sort out like your vendor registration and your requirements early, they will get you in, they'll make you do the job. You finish the job, everything. When you're asking for payment, they're like, oh, this document's not in place. Or can you please send this? Or can you please go into the system and update? You need to do like the PO, blah, 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 blah. I know this because when I was working in Petronas, I would be managing this system for the contractors. That's the contracts manager over there. So like when we get big contracts from like oil and gas companies and they say that we need a vendor registration, obviously I know that there's a whole list of things that we will need to prepare and we'll need to do. So we'll make sure that this is all done first before while the shooting and all of that is going on, so that when the payment comes through, it comes smoothly.
My, you see, now part of your journey, this is where things get even more interesting because so 2021 you start Ensera Creatives.
Yeah.
And the same year you start EBTech.
EBTech, yes, correct.
And now from my research at EBTech, you were building AI and robotics solutions for the palm oil sector.
Yes, correct. We started with palm oil sector.
Drones, computer vision, the works. Now, what inspired that? What problem were you actually looking to solve? How did that get on your radar?
Bro, it's so funny. It's so funny. Okay, so my partner there, his name is Moses Vincent. And I actually met Moses when we were giving a talk on social enterprise online. Okay, so there's this group called BGBG Group. They run Mereka and all of that, Mereka Workspace. So we were both alumni of one of their programs for social enterprise program, right? He ran a social enterprise before. I registered to the program under House. That time I was talking about house coaching and all of that, right? So while we were in the waiting room, I was just chatting this guy Moses up and asking like, hey, so how's your social enterprise doing? And I was like, bro, barely surviving, man. I think it's a very tough market to be in and all, because his interesting idea. I mean, we all had some crazy ideas when we started our businesses, right? So his crazy idea was that he wanted to be like the Lazada and Shopee of all Orang Ulu products, because he's an Orang Ulu.
Okay, very specific niche.
True, but at the same time, like in this day, if anyone says that I'm going to be the Shopee of this and Shopee of that, I'm like, why don't you just integrate in Shopee? Why don't you just join a Facebook market and like go to Facebook Marketplace and open your Facebook shop over there? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense to compete with the people who have literally owned like the worldwide space and market for that. You want to be the next Temu for something? No, man, it's not going to work, right? And then he asked me back, how about you? And we were struggling a little bit that time in house because we haven't found like, our value proposition, like our value products like Senikita and stuff like that. So I was also telling him like, bro, it's the pandemic, man. It's like 2021. I'm like barely surviving. We are doing like some face shield programs and some online programs, but can barely make ends meet. So I asked him like, so what do you do on the side though? Like what's your background education and stuff like that, right? So he was saying that like, okay, so I basically develop like AI systems. We do some computer vision stuff. Me and a few groups of us, we're doing computer vision to basically detect the ripeness level of palm oil. I was like, okay, my dad and I run a palm oil plantation, and we've been approached by a drone company to basically develop an autonomous drone to harvest palm oil. so that during the pandemic we won't have foreign worker issue or worker issues. So he has developed like the mechanical side of the drone. These guys basically found like the brains and the eyes for it using their computer vision systems. And I was like,
Your eyes must have just
yeah, it was one of those light bulb moments, you know. And the light bulb was like so bright that the light bulb broke, kind of thing. Because I was so excited after that. I was like, bro, we got to talk more after this, right? So this happened in September 2021. By November 2021, we signed up and set up a company together with already 2 clients. This drone company and the drone company's client who needed us to also use computer vision for other crops as well. So that's how it started. That's literally how it started. That value proposition just like blew up in my face immediately. And we are one of the few startups that basically did product development while making a profit. Because we worked with this company to say that as we product develop, because a lot of companies, they will need money pumped in and funded in for them to develop their product before they have a go-to-market strategy. Our market strategy was already there. We are already in the market in some sense, right? So our product market fit was there. Understanding like what's our minimum viable product is already there. We already have our minimum viable product also. So I was like, this is only going to exponentially like grow.
Correct.
We just have to align it in the right direction. So then we slowly sort of like evolved / pivoted also into like besides just palm oil, it went into agriculture. And then from agriculture, it went into land asset management. So we went into land asset management is when we stumbled upon like the likes of sustainability projects, decarbonization, carbon credits and stuff like that. And it was very new in the market that time. We're talking like 2022, 2023. So that's when like we decided let's capture the market quick.
We were talking about EBTech, right? And at some point, the company pivoted. All right, so you guys pivoted from a...
I would say we evolved brilliantly, evolving brilliance, because EBTech stands for Evolving Brilliance Technologies. Yeah, so we evolved brilliantly into another.
I stand corrected. you evolved from a palm oil efficiency, I guess, company to a carbon credit management and nature-based solutions company.
Yes, correct.
Why? What triggered that shift?
Okay, so when we saw that there's like a huge gap in the market when it comes to like sustainability tracking and also like transparent management of like carbon development projects. There was this one time where the biggest verifier of carbon credits in the world, which was Vera, were allowing the issuance of a certain kind of carbon credits, which then came out to be like scam by nature. But basically how it works is that like they promise that they are able to generate this amount of credits from the reduction of the carbon emissions in certain parts of the world. With this promise, they went and got investment, and then they took this investment and ran away instead of actually doing the work. So they needed to like sort of streamline and tighten in how they better manage all of these programs and these projects. So it became a very big deterrent factor and very highly filtered on how usual carbon development project companies could go, or carbon developers could go and actually get their carbon credits verified. Right? So what we saw was a very good gap in between there to basically solve this problem was leveraging of the AI systems that we already built. Because we were already building like dashboards to allow transparent management, transparent monitoring, you know, aligning it also along with satellite imagery and vision AI and stuff like that. So just translating it from agriculture into forestry, into land asset management, into mangroves, into any other thing that falls under either nature-based or tech-based solutions was kind of like the way to go. That was our basically our springboard into like the different countries where we are involved in and stuff like that. Yeah, because as we were working with like researchers, they would tell us that like, hey, I've got a counterpart in Indonesia that has actually done a project and issued some amount of credits to this client. So we were like, okay, cool. Let's go and talk to them and see how we can collaborate. When we meet them, we realized that, hey, you could use our tech to actually like make this a lot faster. At the same time, like if you need some additional funding and stuff like that, we have access to people who are looking to what we call pre-buy the credits. They need to pre-buy the credits because they know they've estimated that they need to pay a certain amount of carbon tax. So by them, instead of changing a lot of like their internal processes, which takes time and years to change,
And they
they
purchase
can
these
just
credits.
basically purchase the credits by investing in these projects.
Mm.
So we give them like a preferential amount on how they can basically purchase these things. So it's what we call incentivized sustainability, basically. You know, it's difficult to push for sustainability overnight. So you kind of incentivize it through this, what many would say complicated, but for us, because with the help of AI, we are basically able to easily manage this whole supply chain. So back to what I was talking about during my engineering days, where we understand process flow diagrams. This is where I was running it at the most, like, you know, prime, because it made a lot of sense. It was not a tech challenge. It was not really a compliance challenge. It was a finance challenge. That I think if we understand the different components that is required to make the supply chain work, we probably have like the you know the way to success to make this basically work.
I see. Then EBTech at this point now has signed agreements to bring corporate credit verification expertise to Thailand. You've been working with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment.
That's great. Yeah.
How does a Sarawakian company then sit across the table with the foreign government and get this kind of work?
Interesting. We had partners actually. We worked very closely with certain partners, and then one of them would just say like, "Hey, I got Kang Tao in Thailand. I'm gonna try. I think I know this person."
Just like
It's
that.
just like that, bro.
It's like at
It's
the
just
bar.
like that, bro.
What?
Like for those of you guys who believe in Kuching Kang Tao, go on believing in Kuching Kang Tao, man. Our Kang Tao is very big, not just within Kuching, but you give good Kang Tao within Kuching, people will actually give you worldwide Kang Tao.
They will.
You know?
Correct.
So we started with that, and then what we realized also through like some of our research partners where they had some jobs over in Indonesia. So that's how we got into Indonesia as well. So while we were doing some of our works in Thailand, he had like some, our partner over there had some like connections because he's Chinese. He had some connections with some people in Taiwan. So that helped us to go over to Taiwan. That was a very interesting project that we're working on right now where we are basically working directly with like Tencent Music. So what Tencent Music basically does is that they run festivals, events, and all of that. The tickets that they are selling, every ticket that they sell, can be basically attached to a real world asset or what we call RWA through the blockchain system using carbon credits as the tokenization tool.
This sounds like you found utility for what were NFTs prior.
Kind of. But like NFTs is very linked towards like artistic valuation and like based on how the market factors and the drives. NFTs was very making a lot of money once upon a time, but now it's
of course.
now it's totally
probably
crashed, right?
The image part was
correct. So that was one angle to it. But one way we want to make sure that this is like very ironclad from corner to corner was putting it on a blockchain system where it basically allows for like very clear and transparent management of all of these credits.
Public ledger,
right? And when they connect it to a real world asset, basically if someone wants to buy like a ticket for say a Jay Chou concert, so Jay Chou is basically like sponsoring like this amount of like trees over in Pulau Nias or over in Sumatra. So if you buy this number of tickets, you're basically making the world better by this amount or percentage, and you kind of own that real world asset as well. So that's the whole system that we are basically building for them. So that one is an interesting tech and compliance challenge because you're talking about multiple different countries, and Vera needs to verify the certification first. They verify the credits, we bring in the credits and say this is the value. Then the client agrees that, okay, based on this value, this is what we're going to pay for it. And based on what's paid for it, a very small fraction of it basically goes to a little ownership, which is owned by the token of the person who buys the ticket for the event. So basically, it's making it like a B to G to B to C, in essence. Yeah.
You see, now, I think this is, at least personally speaking, this is the first time I've seen blockchain coming together with AI.
Coming together with events.
And
also sustainability work, because there's still replanting, reforestation work done. We are going down on the ground with the kampong people to plant these mangrove plants from its nursery all the way to this amount, creating like a very clear portfolio of like how much decarbonization we're actually doing.
Correct. So then this calls for some serious expertise. Then how many people are in EBTech?
Okay, so our core founding team, we have four of us, and then our programmer team, we have somewhere between 15 to 18 people. But the big teams that we usually work with are our local partners. Because the thing about carbon credits and the thing about like decarbonization and sustainability projects is the local content requirement. So like we need to work, like 80% of our team are from the locals over there. So we have to work with the locals. We work with local NGOs. We work with local research facilities. We work with local universities. So they are doing the maximum amount of the legwork. We just make sure the tech is there in place. Their funding is sorted, and we align all of it and make sure that the client management is sorted by us as well. That's where we come in. So that is why, like, if I was pitching to an accelerator program, we are purely SaaS tech company, blah, 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 blah. If I was pitching to an investor, we are a project development company. We are somewhat of like an EPC or an EPCC kind of thing. But if you ask me honestly, we're just a solution provider. Where there's a problem in the supply chain, we kind of find a way to solve it.
I see. Oh, well. Then, when it comes to your numerous awards, in 2025, EBTech won the Startup World Cup Malaysia Ching Final.
Yes.
Earning a place at the grand finale in Silicon Valley. I was following some of your globetrotting. I think you were in San Francisco at some point.
Yes,
right?
I was.
Competing for $1 million investment against startups from over 70 countries. What was that experience like? What's it like there?
Wow. Okay. First things first, get to startups out there. All right. Getting into the semifinals is really great. There's almost no way we can like immediately win being the first time over there.
Of course.
Because first things first is like when we talk about valuation, when we talk about like how much investment we need, we're like at like 300K USD, 500K USD.
Like small fish.
These guys are like 10 mil. We need 10 mil USD. We need 15 mil USD. And like the mindset in Silicon Valley when it comes to like investment is that these guys invest in even ideation, pre-revenue, pre-whatever.
No
right?
concrete.
Nothing concrete.
No MVP.
But what drives them is like the previous traction that these people would be like ex-Tesla, they'll be like ex-NASA, and stuff like that.
Harvard graduates.
Correct.
Yeah.
And like even it's so funny. Like in Malaysia, for us to raise some funds for 250K ringgit, right? We will need to show them that we are profitable for the last 3 years. 250K ringgit.
Well, I guess that's what makes America different.
It's such a conservative market. So when we went there, it was such a learning curve for me to understand a couple of things. Number one, how do you angle your pitch based on like the different requirements of the different investors? Because if someone told me that, from a 5-minute pitch, the next round is a 3-minute pitch, I'll just use the 5-minute slides and speak faster in 3 minutes pitch.
Right. Like what else can you do?
What else can I do?
Yeah.
Actually, you can do a lot. So that's the thing. So they had like some lessons and like some some quick tips on the spot on how to basically learn to do a 5-minute pitch, a 3-minute pitch, and a 1-minute pitch. Bro, how am I to do a 1-minute pitch with one slide to talk about carbon credits, to talk about my traction, to talk about what the heck I'm doing? But I found a way to do it because like there were tips to it. So I mean, I can't get into too much detail because it'll be very technical, but in essence, like, okay, you have a 1-pager slide, right?
Yeah.
So the trick is like every time when your slide comes up, you have some time going up to stage and saying like, okay, good day to all the judges. Okay, my name is so and so and so and so. On that one slide, the first slide, you just dump and spam everything about pictures of what your things are, what are like your key highlights, who to contact, and your awards in logos and in pictures and all of that. Because you've got like 2 minutes of their attention looking at the screen while waiting for you.
That's
a
crazy.
trick. That's crazy, right? You never think of that,
No.
right? And then our usual way of like pitching is like, okay, you start with problem statement and then the solution you're providing, and then what is your business model? Okay, what's your go-to-market strategy? Blah, 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 blah.
There we go.
The Americans are so quick with it. They're like, don't even bother with the problem statement. You tell what's the solution you're providing. If the person can't figure out what's the problem you're trying to solve from your solution, there's something wrong with your pitch. You got to fix it.
And you don't have to be proven.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be proven and stuff like that. And what I've noticed about Silicon Valley's investment methodology is like, it's good for companies to go from 0 to 1 in Silicon Valley. But if you're going like from 1 to 100 or 1 to 1,000, you need to go to more mature industries like China, like Europe and stuff like that. Because one issue that you would face with raising money in Silicon Valley is it's going to be very difficult to raise anywhere outside of America. Because for you to reach the valuation that you have promised, it's going to be a struggle. It's really going to be a struggle. They don't mind failure cases because these VCs over there, they'll invest in 100 companies and 2 would be successful.
Yeah.
It's a 2% success rate for them, right? They don't mind that because they have the money, they have the backing, and these people are like...
And the winner as well, that's...
Yeah, the winners will get them there.
Correct.
Whatever losses they've made for the other 98 will be made from these 2 companies, you know? So it's a different kind of mindset over there. It's a different kind of pitching style. It's a different kind of understanding. And unfortunately, thanks to Trump, sustainability and climate tech is not great over there.
No, not at all.
Like we didn't get a lot of interest per se, but it was a very mind-opening experience and an eye-opening experience as well to see what's it like to basically pitch on the stage, to basically go to LA, bro, to go to like San Francisco, to go to Silicon Valley. Every entrepreneur's dream, man. Every tech entrepreneur's dream. We've only been seeing Silicon Valley in the, the comedy series,
correct,
on the TV and stuff like that. Actually going there, sitting in a Waymo, going through, how San Francisco has like those really hilly
The
kind
hills,
of things.
correct.
Yeah. And then going on the Golden Gate Bridge. Oh, damn.
But then,
that was an amazing experience. Yeah.
so when it comes to just the environment, then are there things that you feel you could bring over here just when it comes to pitching, maybe the startup culture?
Startup culture is very much influenced by investor culture, investor appetite, right? When I first came back, I was very gung-ho and very excited in telling people how they should be aligning their pitch and stuff like that. When I shared some of this with the investors, they're still like, really, man? They spend like that, they can make money. Yeah lah, over there, US different lah. Here, Malaysia different lah, at the end of the day. So it's very important to know who you're pitching towards. Like if you come up with like a Silicon Valley kind of pitch deck, it'll be just a 5 pitch deck with 4 pictures in it and say that like, give me the money, show me the money.
Thrown up.
So like local investors will be like, what the heck is this guy talking about? I have like no trust in you. You've got like no traction. You have not worked with any government agency.
Correct.
So don't be talking to me, and stuff like that. But because we've gotten some of the very conservative kind of like roughening around the edges, we are at the stage right now that we can basically like sort of be approached by investment companies and we can kind of demand the kind of term sheets that we are looking for and stuff like that because we use what we have gotten from the other previous term sheets and say like, this is what we offered before. It's either this or better. If you can't offer better, let's just be friends. Keep them in the friend zone, you know what I mean?
Wait. All right, moving to 2026. Now, EBTech became the only Sarawakian company to win a position at an innovation platform run by Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry and JETRO.
Yes.
This now positions the company as the carbon monetization layer for IHI's Next Forest platform. What exactly does this do for EBTech?
Okay, so I was mentioning about how we wanted to have using Vision AI tools on our satellite imagery and basically allowing us to like speed up the process of like verifying the carbon credits we can potentially generate in these certain regions. So what has happened is that like IHI Corporation has this, they basically had an impact challenge, they had like a challenge for all the participants to basically like help to solve and basically like align with whatever that they can provide, right? So they were at first looking for like, technological solutions or tech solutions to sort of like complement or work better with whatever they're doing. But where we came in was basically like a slight tech solution and like a sort of like a financial solution as well. Because they were basically the thing that you're mentioning, Next Forest, right? Next Forest is basically their tool where they own a satellite and they're able to do their own satellite imagery and basically study the vegetation index of whatever part of the world is given the right kind of coordinates. So instead of me needing to buy satellite imagery from an online source, which is very expensive, and stuff like that, I can just combine Next Forest into our existing, what we call DMRV tool. So MRV stands for measurement, recording, and validation. MRV reports are what is required to submit to the likes of Vera and other verification bodies in order to verify the credits, right? And what happened is that like when you call it DMRV, it's a digital MRV tool. So everything's like on the app and we can like generate reports and stuff like that, right? So our DMRV tool works very well with their Next Forest tool. And Next Forest is basically looking for clients and projects to utilize their tool. And we already have that. We have the access to all of this. So all I needed to do was find the synergy and align this. And that's how we kind of won. People kind of think that like, oh, your technology must be very advanced for you to be able to work with Japanese companies. I was like, no, their technology is way more advanced. We're just leveraging on them
Their platforms.
and they're leveraging on our clients and our existing projects. So that's basically how we were able to win the innovation challenge. We were the only Sarawakian company to get that, and pretty proud about it as well. And fun fact, we will actually be having them visit us in Sarawak very soon, where we'll be bringing them to actually meet like a few of the ministries to basically work with them as well. Because Next Forest is also connected to Sumitomo Forest as well. So Sumitomo Corporation, they have under their wing Sumitomo Forest, which is one of the nature-based solution providers and funders around the world.
I see.
So we can tap into the Sarawakian market for that as well.
Now, I understand that you're the CFO, and
Mhm.
this may be out of scope, but when it comes to dealing with models, I think in this case you're dealing with vision models primarily, and
Right.
probably large language models for some of the processing, right?
Mhm.
Data sovereignty is a big issue here, and I'm wondering, is that something you factor in? Are you using? Do you have like local models or?
Okay, so the thing about like data sovereignty is that like it really depends from project to project, right? How we want to go about it. Most of the times, if it involves like a B2G kind of arrangement, data sovereignty is very important because they have a lot of PNC data that doesn't allow
Correct.
to be used, you know. So we then have to work with local models. We develop local models based on that. So we use local server towers. We make sure that we don't put things up on the cloud, you know, up on the public cloud and stuff like that. So this is basically how we tackle these solutions and issues. But we do also do like some very on the surface kind of like projects, which does not really need such strong data sovereignty requirements. For example, like in 2024, we actually did like a little fun project with Rainforest World Music Festival, with Sarawak Tourism Board, where we basically calculated like how many people came to the event, how did they come to the event, how much did they actually spend in terms of like travel, or how much food did they actually buy. And we could calculate the carbon emissions from this to basically tell STB how many trees you need to plant at the end of the program in order to offset. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's
So this
fantastic.
doesn't need like a local model and stuff like that. So things like this we use like the cloud, you know, and stuff. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
And then by 2025, EBTech had reported operations across 5 countries, I believe, over 33,000 hectares under development, and $1.5 million in revenue.
Yep.
Pretty impressive numbers. So
Thank you.
then what
Thank
does the
you.
next phase look like for you guys?
I mean, we are looking at like our next round of investment as well. We kind of have a couple of term sheets in place because honestly, our dream is to be Sarawak's first unicorn. Or you know, because we can't be Malaysia's first unicorn because that's Grab basically. But like, we would love to be Sarawak's first unicorn
Isn't
if
Grab
possible.
Singaporean?
Debatable. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the plan that we're going towards. We may be open to like investments also from like some government agencies, which we plan to raise through like crowdfunding platforms and stuff like that. But in essence, like besides just the funding side of things and increasing our valuation, increasing our money, in terms of impact that we want to do, we've been making and creating a lot of impact outside of Sarawak. To be very honest, like, you know, people usually start in Sarawak and then take over the world.
Yeah.
We've kind of like did it the other way, where we were like concentrating a lot in Southeast Asia. I mean, it's not that we've not been focusing in Sarawak a lot, but like I think Sarawak stands in a very unique kind of placement and market that they maybe prefer companies that has more experience or better number of years.
Mm.
So our way of like sort of countering that, besides having like our strong achievements and partnerships outside, is also build some strong partnerships internally as well. So we're working through some of the government agencies to do better state level implementation for some of our work. So this is probably where we're going to be headed in the next couple of years. Yeah.
Oh, super.
Mhm.
Now, let's dive into you.
Okay.
All right.
Have you already been doing that? No. I'm not sure.
Because we've covered all these businesses, right?
Mhm.
And I think for a lot of people who would be listening, they're like, man, this guy, engineer, he has then this creative hub, then he has this tech company. He's done all these sort of things. And I think the term for it would be a polymath, right? As we
Mhm.
discussed earlier. And
Mhm.
with all your pursuits, whether they be, some of them sound really technical, some of them are really creative.
Mhm.
How do you find the time of day? What does your day look like? The average day?
Okay. So I think a lot of people, I mean, I've been asked this a lot also, like how do you not go insane? How do you not go
Hmm.
crazy? I think the misconception is that like each and every one of these processes are different because they're in different industries. That's actually very untrue, because being the CFO of all of these multiple companies, my process flow of what I need to do for each company is pretty much the same.
Hmm.
The building blocks and the supply chain, components and parameters, it's very similar across the different industries. Okay, you have to talk about like, how do you stay sustainable? What's our go-to-market strategy? What's our key resources? What's our key activities? What's our revenue streams, right? And what's our cost structure? So understanding these core 6 elements, right? 6 out of the 9 elements of a business model canvas, basically, is basically enough for me to like understand where are we standing with the company, how we want to go forward, and what can we do. And that just takes up like the first quarter of my day, going through like the different components of the BMC for my different companies.
Mm.
The rest of the 3 quarter of the day is basically networking, meeting people, having drinks, having a good time. Yeah, maybe going for pitches, maybe going for meetings. That's when like I got to like comb my hair up a little bit and look a bit proper. And then after that, like the meetings usually don't close at the meeting room.
Hmm.
The deals basically closed in the after hours in the bar.
Yeah.
So that's what my role is: whining and dining, meeting the investors. And you'll be surprised, when investors initially, they would be like, oh, we don't like serial entrepreneurs because you have like a problem focusing.
Correct.
We are putting money in you, so you would do the best in this. Even if you're making good money, like you could make more if you just focus on this.
Mm.
And I just told them that like, no, I will be making the same, because I'm a go wide kind of person, and my partners are the go deep kind of person. You want them to make the money, you go harass them. You don't harass me, because I'm opening doors, opening channels to scale the market bigger. You get very good at the tech that you do. Like for example, I was telling you the Tencent music thing.
Mm.
So that was the best marriage of like my creative sector and tech
Mm.
and environmental and sustainability.
Mm.
We believe in EBTech, we are going for the 3 Ps, right? People, planet, and prosperity. We were calling it profit before, but they were like, oh, it sounds too
No,
capitalist. I said,
no,
okay, fine.
way too
Prosperity it
capitalist.
is, for whatever. But like the 3 Ps, right?
Okay.
So by having a mindset and an ability to basically tap into all of these different things, helped us come up with some really crazy ideas and crazy projects.
Mm.
So you can't tell me that like I'm not supposed to focus on these other things and I just need to do one thing in one company. No, I don't accept that.
Mm.
So I don't get along too well with all my investors, and that's why I have my partners, because then my partner can get along with the investors that I don't get along with, right?
Mm.
But in essence, like back to what we were saying earlier, the process across these different companies are the same. And I just focus on this process. The industry factors, the industry players, the different kind of sectors and all of that, right? These things are just like different dresses on the same model that we have. The model still remains. You need to be sustainable,
Mm.
you need to be profitable, you need to create impact. And the finance model behind all of these companies can do that. And that's basically what I do to take care of.
I see. I think, yeah. So a lot of the rhetoric is that you need to focus on one thing to be successful, right?
Mm.
And maybe the argument would be that in your case, you're probably in you're doing the same thing just across different fields, right? That's what
Correct.
makes it easy.
Correct.
All right. So if someone wanted to, say, pursue different industries and be a serial entrepreneur, then if they're not exactly doing what you're doing in that sense, then is it actually possible?
It is, but they'll be burned out very quick. They'll have like the entrepreneur cycle of like doing very well, getting a lot of customers, having enough happy problems, burning out, losing the customers, and then trying to like struggle to get the customers again and continue doing that. My advice for these people who want to be in multiple industries and all, find good partners and good synergy. We are limited by 24 hours in a day. We are limited in our brain capability and capacity. I would not be here today if not for my business partners. They are literally my lifeline. They are literally my lifeline. And I depend a lot on them as well. You cannot be polymath and not work with partners. There's no such thing as a solopreneur who does multiple things. You're just lying to yourself about it. I mean, you would probably be doing that, but you won't make much and you'll burn out before you even hit the ground running,
All right. Looking at the future, all right, Sarawak's future specifically. Now, you mentor at Founders Forge.
Yep.
That'd be correct. Helping early stage Sarawakian startups get off the ground. Is there a common blind spot you see in young entrepreneurs?
Two things that I see. One is like the vision to scale. It's either not big enough or not refined enough. Because sometimes when I comment to them, I'm like, okay, what's your vision by 5 years of this company? Or at least what's the end goal with this company, right? It's either going to be something like, oh, we want to be the best company in Sarawak.
Something very general.
Like general is one thing, but why Sarawak? Why not Malaysia? Why not Southeast Asia? Why not the world kind of thing? Or they're going to be like, oh, we'll be like the best provider in the world kind of thing. I'm like, provider of what? My take about it is that like it comes with a bit of experience. It comes with a bit of exposure to know like how to streamline, find your niche, and then go big and scale on the niche. But I also feel personally like, Sarawakians, they maybe are a little shy, right? We are not used to rocking the boat and taking space in a room. And I always like to focus on that part when I'm talking to like these entrepreneurs and these potential unicorns, I like to call them. I said, you got to own it. You got to own your space. You got to manifest that this is going to be the next big thing. And you got to have another 2 different mindsets also instilled in your mind. Number 1, if it fails, you do the next thing. It's not your be all, do all. And number 2, do not be afraid to exit a company. You have to understand that like, yes, it's your baby, but if you get a good exit deal, take the money and move. You can move to the next thing. The entrepreneur mind does not die at one idea. You would die when you retire and don't do anything. That's when your brain dies. If you are really thinking about entrepreneurship, not even serial entrepreneurship, just entrepreneurship, be open to the idea that like, maybe my end goal is to build a company big and have someone buy it. That's a very noble goal actually. Because what you're going to do with the money afterwards will define what kind of entrepreneur you're going to be. And there's no wrong answers to that.
Correct. Right. And I think that is a bit of a struggle, right? I think of 2 cases, like Tom, who started MySpace, right? I think he got about $500 million. Now he takes photos, he's living his best life. And then you get Mark Zuckerberg, who I think he was offered about $1 billion by Yahoo, and he rejected it. Right. And then now we have Meta. So we may have individuals in that space, maybe who are caught between. Then how do they decide, okay, maybe I should take the Tom route or I should be Mark Zuckerberg in this sense? Then how do you decide?
I mean, I don't know what options or resources they had at that point of time. And honestly, if you ask me, I would have taken the Tom route, because like I would take that money and then reinvest and build something more. But actually, Mark Zuckerberg's route is not exactly bad as well. When you say, sell off or exit the company, you don't necessarily have to exit the main company or the whole company. You have to understand that like Facebook also did sell off some of like their assets and some of like their subsidiary companies for him to then have the money to buy the shares of something else bigger to basically extend into the market. For him to get into Instagram, for him to have Instagram and Threads, just as a
WhatsApp.
way, and WhatsApp also, he had to let go of some of his endeavors as well.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, this story doesn't usually come to light because it's not a very fun story and all of that. The owner of this, who basically, like, made the money and stuff like that, or they'll be happy and they'll have their own story, but they won't really come to light and stuff like that. So the way I see it is, there are, for a lack of better term, there are many ways to skin the cat. I know we come from Kuching, we probably
Cannot
shouldn't
say
use that.
No,
Yeah, we probably
bro.
shouldn't say that,
No,
right?
we skin something else. Yeah.
But there are many ways that we can go about these things, right? And like, I just feel that it really depends on how they want to go about it. But most importantly, they just need to realize that they need to be, one, true to themselves, true to the founding members, and three, be okay with whatever decision that's made, because that's the decision you're going to be living your life with after that. And there is really no wrong answer. It's just how you live with it after.
I suppose that dictates the quality of your own life in that sense, right?
Exactly.
Now, Sarawak is pushing hard on its digital economy and its tech ambitions. And at the same time, you've spent time building cultural and creative infrastructure through House, through Ensera Creatives. Do you think Sarawak's tech push and its creative economy push are being built together, or was there more focus on one? Right.
Right now, in the past few years, there has been a very good like mix and synergy of both as well. Because initially, deep tech was very gatekeeper-ish, right? Hence why EBTech fit very well in there. But after the time went, like, I was giving them feedback like, hey, we need some creative ventures as well. We need some creative tech to be involved. And that's how even Ensera also managed to win some awards and some grants also from the government. Fun fact, I survived on at least close to R1 million of grants from federal and state side. And some people might call me a grantpreneur also.
It sounds
But
like it.
it sounds like
Yeah.
it. But that 1 million made us make 1.5 million USD. This 1 million ringgit to 1.5 million USD. How do I make this 1.5 million USD if I'm focused on being a grantpreneur? You know what I mean?
Correct.
If I'm a grantpreneur, means I got the 1 million and my revenue is
You
1
actually
million.
did something with it.
So I did something with that. So product development, market access, customer acquisition costs, partnership development and stuff like that. All of this costs money. We need runway. We need, we need to keep the lights on in the office while we're still running before the client pays and stuff like that. So the state's direction towards like supporting tech ventures and creative ventures has been very good. We are very, very thankful. I mean, as EBTech and as Ensera, even as House as well, we're very thankful for that, And I think the direction that they're going is becoming a little bit better, because initially I was a little bit skeptical about when they started opening the accelerator programs to people outside of Sarawak as well. Because the very initial stage will be like, why are you not supporting Sarawakians only?
Correct.
Okay. Couple of problems they face. There's not enough Sarawakian startups to fill up the slots. And we're just playing amongst like a small pool. We can be a big fish in a small pool. They call like Jago Kampong, or, like a big fish in a small pool kind of thing, right? But actually extending and opening up to foreign companies, not just within Malaysia, but also within Southeast Asia, these people come with their experiences. They come with their funded backings.
Correct.
It opened up doors for them to start working with the likes of, say, Jetro, with like the Vietnam or Thailand-based accelerators and startup companies and startup founders, or startup incubators and stuff like that. So over the time, I realized that, this is actually very interesting. And now people who want to join programs like, say, Diva by SDEC or Shell Life Wire by Tegas and stuff like that, they would be like, we want to network with people who come from other countries as well. That's another pushing factor. It's not just the money, it's not just the validation, but it's also the networking, and it's also the eye-opening moments where they realize, damn, maybe I can enter into the Vietnam market. Let me try the Vietnam market first before coming back into Sarawak market and stuff like that. But it's kind of how we did it as well. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Then if you had to bet on, say, what would be the next big thing in Sarawak, say, the next 10 years,
Okay.
all right, would it be climate tech, carbon credits? Is it culture or creative content?
Um,
What would
honestly,
your biggest bet? What would it be on?
honestly, because I'm a very, as you know, being a bit of a polymath, I'm kind of sector agnostic in that sense, right?
Well, you're in so many, so which
Yeah,
one?
yeah. So like for me, I think like instead of like focusing on like a certain sector that's going to change the industry, I think it needs to bring a certain kind of brand of entrepreneurship to change the industry. Like we need more Elon Musks, honestly. Okay, some people may disagree with me on this because Elon Musk the devil, whatever, right? But like his mindset and his thought process on how leveraging of tech to support a bunch of other industries is how I think it's going to be. Because if we say that it's just a focus on tech, people tend to think that AI, SaaS, typical tools or ERP systems, CRM systems, and stuff like that. Tech is like the vehicle to allow all industries to prosper. So sustainable tech is going to prosper as well. Climate tech is going to prosper as well. Creative industry has a little bit of way to get there, but it's getting there. I believe with hopes of like, my things that I'm talking about in my thesis and the policies that can be like driven towards this direction and stuff like that can hopefully make a change. But in essence, I'm looking at basically making sure that like we can make these things happen using tech as like a springboard, like a jumping platform to basically get there. So to answer your question, basically like I don't see it as like a specific industry being the next big thing. I think it's just like what can put Sarawak on the map. It could even be something as simple as like the most the easiest way for someone to understand the culture of Sarawak. Or maybe it's a basic AI chatbot that helps you translate everything to, Bahasa Sarawak or something like that. That could even be like our changing factor to make the world look at us. So yeah, that's my thoughts about it.
All right. Then our final question. There are people who are probably thinking of starting a business even. Don't know where to start. Don't know, maybe is my idea good? How do they start? What do they do?
Here's my tip on how to start a business, right? The process of like setting up a company, SSM, LHDN, Sdn Berhad, Solprop, whatever. These things are so easy. You can just go on AI and you can just type it out and say like, hey, I want to start a company. What I need to do? Tell me what the documents I require, legal requirements, blah, blah, blah. But I always feel that like if you have an idea, it's one of two things. You need money to develop your minimum viable product, or what we call the MVP. Or if you have the product already available, can this basically generate money for at least 6 months? At least 6 months. Your product or your service, if it can generate something for at least 6 months, then you should consider opening a company and setting up a business. Because if you don't, you set up a business in hopes that you are going to generate the income, you're going to be stuck in that product development mindset. And when you're in the product development mindset, my suggestion is don't set up a company yet. Join some accelerator programs which helps set up the company for you, which helps set up partners to work along with you and stuff like that. So there are programs out there like Antler, like even Shell LifeWire, for example. Like even if you just have an idea, you can be one of the finalists in there and get like 15,000 ringgit to help kickstart your company. So when you have 15,000 ringgit, you have like runway of maybe like 3 to 4 months perhaps to basically operate. And during that time is where you really need to make sure that you deep dive into the projects and the products that you're looking to do and looking to expand on. Okay. And I always am a very strong proponent of having synergistic partners when you set up the company. I'm not against solopreneurs. Solopreneurs out there, like no harm, no foul. All right. You need to find some groove and somewhere. It's not very easy to find partners, I understand. But the springboard scaling factor needs you to have a very strong partner because you can't think of everything on your own. There are going to be parts that you miss. There are going to be parts where you did not foresee, that you did not realize that like, damn, if I had someone just focusing on that while I focus on the product or I focus on the tech, he can focus on the business, he can focus on opening doors and all of that. Sure, you can go ahead. You can do it, So yeah, these are my advice for the youngins out there. All right. Or you can just come and talk to me, man. I'll give you like one-on-one advice. I'm all for giving
For free?
free consulting, bro. I give free consulting to anyone who wants to set up their business, who wants to have an idea. And if the idea is good enough, I might even invest. I don't know.
Oh,
We'll
well,
see. Yeah.
There we go.
Mhm.
Oh, Dr. Ashwin,
Thank you
you
so much.
so much for
Thank you so
taking the
much,
time to
Lionel.
sit down with
Truly
us.
a pleasure.
Oh, that
Right?
was an enlightening and inspiring conversation.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Ashwin, the CFO,
CFO, yeah.
CFO, my bad, CFO and co-founder of EBTech, co-founder of Ensera Creatives, and one of the people behind House Ching. If you're wondering how one person could hold all of that together, well, I think you've learned from this story today. Ashwin, you know our closing statement?
Yes, we
All
do.
right, so on the count
Okay.
of three. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Real people, real stories, real Sarawak.